Fear is a result of uncertainty. From the loss of a parent to being stranded at night, scary situations can come when we're least expecting them. What you're about to see is a series of 5 interviews of college-age students talking about their scariest moments.
The scariest moment was an experience I had with my grandmother when I was about 15. To preface this, my grandma had polio when she was younger, and so she would have like really long coughing fits, and it was just kind of a normal occurrence. So I was in the kitchen one day after school with my grandmother, and she had eaten a piece of bread, and she started coughing really bad, and I asked her if she was all right, and she just nodded off. And I just listened to her cough for a while. I asked if she was choking or anything. She was fine. She didn't do the choking symbol or anything. So I just had to sit and wait for her to finish coughing, and she eventually spit up her bread and she said she was fine. And then a day or 2 later, she had told me that she was actually choking and was nervous that maybe she would have died.
In front of you.
In front of me.
Okay. I think the scariest moment I've ever had in my life was when I was about 10 years old. My brothers and I were just getting ready for school, and we saw out the window the red and blue flashing lights, and my dad came out of his room and he had tears streaming down his face, and he told my brothers and I to go wait in my room and to not come out until we were told to. And so we went in our room and just kind of sat there for a little bit, and about 30 minutes later my dad came in, and he was still crying, and this was scary. I'd never seen my dad cry before, and he sat us down and held our hands and just told us that my mom had passed away during the night.
At 12 years old, I woke up to the whole house being destroyed and everything was crashing down, and I didn't know what was going on, and I woke up to police sirens and my brother telling me to get up and run to the car, and all I saw was my dad behind 2 police people holding him down, and my mom in the car, and everything was packed, and we were living down in Texas, and we started driving, and we didn't know where we were going, and we drove all the way back to Washington.
So when I was 16, I lived in England. I went on a day trip with 2 of my friends to York, which was about 45 minutes away on the train from where I lived, and we just went by ourselves. And when we came back, it was pretty late at the night. So my friends lived around the train station where we were, but my house was 20 minutes by bus. So I had to take the bus back, and my phone was dying. I was on the phone with my parents on the bus, telling them that I didn't know what to do because the Google Maps app said that I was going in a complete different direction than where I lived, so I didn't really know what to do with that. And so I just got off the bus, and then my phone died. So I was all alone. I was sitting by the side of the street in front of these buildings that looked terrifying to me. It was late, and I should have just stayed on the bus, looking back on it now, but in the moment I thought I was going to die because it was scary, it was unknown. There were people out that were drunk, and I didn't know if they were going to hurt me, if I did anything that would aggravate them, so that was the scariest moment for me.
The first thing that comes to mind was when I was on my mission, and my companion and I were visiting a member. She was a recent convert, and we knew that she had some health problems, and she always wanted to see the elders, so one day we just had a prompting to go visit her. We stopped by her house. She lives in this little hut thing in a small little community, and we went over there and we were trying to yell out her name because usually she opens the door and says hey, but she didn't open the door and it was just quiet, so we're like, oh, that's strange, usually she's home. We walk around the neighborhood and we ask around hey, have you seen her, have you seen anything happen? And they're like, oh, she was having chest problems and she was rushed to the hospital. And I was like, oh freak. So my companion and I, we went to the hospital. We didn't really know what was going on, and we talked to the receptionist, and the receptionist said, yeah, she's here, but she's in the emergency room right now. And we asked if we can go see her, and they were like, yeah, they're actually bringing her down right now. And when they were bringing her out, she was just crying and yelling and saying like she was in the worst pain of her life. And we just followed as they carried her in a stretcher into her new room. And then we went inside. The doctor told us that she was probably going to die.
Okay. Why was that scary? Like, what specifically about that made it scary?
Just kind of having to sit through it, not knowing what I should be doing. The uncertainty of it was probably the scariest part for me. Because it was normal for her to be coughing for minutes at a time, and we knew she was going to be fine. But I didn't know if she was going to be fine or not, and I didn't know if she needed help or not. I just kind of sat there and watched.
This was like super scary to go through, especially as a 10-year-old, just thinking about the life that I had ahead of me and not having my mom there. I had a lot of mixed feelings, like sad and anger, and just lots of things that just made me scared for what was to come and just kind of the unknown.
And at that time, we kind of just found out everything, that my dad was an alcoholic, and he cut off all our bank records. I mean, we had no banks, no credit cards, no debit cards, just cash to get us all the way from Texas to Washington. And it was just a scary moment because I've never been so confused, and there's no signs coming up to it. It was just, it wasn't like scary where the moment where someone's screaming at you or there's breaking noise. Like, that didn't scare me. It just scared me that this is the first time in my life where I realized that everything wasn't perfect, and I realized that we didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. We didn't know if we were going to make it to Washington. We didn't know if we were going to have phones to use. We didn't know anything. We just knew that we had to go that way.
The thing that made it scary for me was I had to think about like my life and what I'd done in my life, and think about if I had done everything that I had wanted to do. And I was 16, and I was like, I have so many more things that I wanted to do. So the fear of getting all of that cut off from me was the scariest.
I was scared because it was such a heavy moment. Like I knew that her health problems were already bad, and to be there when she was about to pass away and to be responsible for giving her a blessing, a priesthood blessing right before she passed away, I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me to, like, am I ready to do this? And I was scared.
So if you were in a situation right now, would it scare you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think I would handle it a bit more seriously,
Uh-huh.
and but I don't think the panic would have been any different whatsoever.
Absolutely. I think especially now that I'm older, if I would have had that much more time with her and just thinking about the more important things that I had to come in my life and her not being there, it would be even scarier now probably.
Would it scare you again?
Probably not. No. Because, like, after that, we dealt that like that on a regular basis. And so it was more than, it was the same scenario for the next 8 years of my life kind of thing.
Probably yes. Hopefully I don't put myself in the same situation that I did before to learn from my mistakes. But if I was in the same situation, I think it would be scary again, just because the unknown would still be there.
I feel like because I understand more about the will of God, and I have a stronger testimony upon salvation, that at least I would be more at peace. It would probably still be a scary moment if I was in that situation, but I feel like I'd handle it a lot better,
Yeah.
be more calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Queen. Through these interviews, I found there is a recurring motif of the unknown. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind." As God is an omniscient being, in our scariest moments, we can always turn to Him.